What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the It's Game Time podcast. This is episode number 15. We have another great show planned for you today. We have two new guests who will be joining us to complete a fantasy football mock draft. With us today are our good friends Charles Walter and Cooper Bobowicz. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, Jet?
I'm doing great as well. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks
Charles,
for inviting me.
what about you, Charles? How you doing?
Thank you, Jed. It's great to be here. Finally get here. Finally have a podcast for my nice known friends here. So let's get into it. I'm happy, ready to start this.
Yeah, Jed, what episode is this? 15?
Episode number 15, yes.
15. Wow. Oh my gosh, that's a lot. That is a good amount of content, almost
a
around
milestone,
15 hours
yes.
that we
I
put out
remember you
there.
guys just started, man. This is crazy. 15 already.
Yeah. Yeah. So Charlie, Charles, what are you majoring in?
I'm a political science major and a sports management minor at UT, University of Tampa. I'm excited to get the next semester going. So it's kind of cool that we're doing this podcast first, and then I'm going to leave for school in like a few days. So it's kind of a nice chain to get back into school, I guess.
Exactly. And what do you want to do? What would you want to do for a career?
Well, I want to be an agent. So I'm basically going to link up with a partner with a firm later in my career after I leave college, after I leave law school. And then I'm going to possibly have my own firm and my own agency a few years down the road after that. So.
Oh, that'd be sweet to do. Just you may be an agent for one of these players that we draft today.
Nah, maybe when they're like, 50 years old, maybe.
What about you, Coop? What are you majoring in?
So I'm a sport management major with a business minor, and I'm really hoping to get into the sports industry, definitely down here in Tampa, hopefully, whether it's the Lightning, Buccaneers, or Rays. Any of those sound pretty good to me.
Awesome. And like, what would be like your dream job? Being like a GM?
If I could get that high, being a GM, but I know that's very difficult. So I'm setting my eyes a little bit lower than that. So my true goal is to get pretty high up in one of those three teams and hoping to work with some pretty great people to lead them to a championship.
Exactly. You want to be in the actual draft process. You want to actually do it. You want to be a deciding factor. But Jet, do we have Instagram responses to go over?
Yeah, we do have Instagram responses. Let me just give me 1 second to pull them up here.
Gosh, guys.
Yeah, we do have. Yeah, but don't worry, we will never forget our Instagram responses. Although it seems like I just forgot them there, but I have them. I have them right here. Okay, so this actually pertains to what we're doing today. I asked everybody, where do you like picking from in a fantasy football draft? And the majority of the people said between picks 1 through 3, 10 votes for that answer, 6 votes for picks 4 through 6, and 4 votes for picks 7 through 9. So as for this order, I'll just tell everyone where we're picking. So I'm picking at number 4, Cooper's picking at number 8, and Charles is picking at number 9. Guys, if you just want to talk about how you feel you're going to be able to do with your spot in the order.
Coop, you want to go?
Yeah, so I'm really liking pick number 8. I would definitely vote on that Instagram poll to be at the bottom of the order because I'm really confident with getting a lower tier top player at the end of the first round and then having a pick pretty close up in the second round to grab someone of a similar skill level. So I'm really confident with the end of the draft to get some 2 good starting players on my team.
And what about you, Charles?
No matter what you look at it, your first round picks, barring any type of injury, is going to produce any way you look at it. I mean, you're probably going to pick a running back, most likely, with your first pick. Everybody usually does. But as long as your first round picks are always going to be some type of production. And plus, once you get that later round pick, get that early second round pick, go into your next, so it's way better, I think, in my opinion, to have that later round pick than the first round pick.
Yeah, before we actually get into that draft, we're just going to go over a few of the other questions pertaining to last week's episode. We talked a little bit about NBA free agency, and the question I asked was, which NBA team has made the best free agent signings thus far? Actually, the Heat and the Bulls tied with 9 votes. Obviously, the Heat signed guys like Kyle Lowry, PJ Tucker, and Markieff Morris. The Bulls signed Lonzo Ball, among other guys. Eric, what are your thoughts about what our voters thought the teams that had the best free agency?
Who was number one again?
The Heat and Bulls were tied with 9 votes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think the Heat and Bulls should be tied for the top spot. I mean, I think the Heat should be number one. If I had to just pick between those two, and I do think the Bulls should had the second best free agency this past year. I mean, what do you guys
shout
think?
out to Eric's mom for picking the Knicks on this question.
Yes, let's go, Mom. Supported.
Cooper, Charles, do you have anything to add on NBA free agency?
I think that I'm not really sure about the Bulls as much as the Heat. I like the Heat much better with their free agency pickups because I'm kind of skeptical about how DeRozan is going to work alongside Zach LaVine, with DeRozan not being a great three-point shooter, and LaVine is not known for his three-point shooting as much as his finishing and dunking ability. So I'm just a little skeptical about that. But I think that the Heat did a great job getting a veteran point guard like Kyle Lowry to be there alongside Jimmy Butler and Victor Oladipo.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think that a lot of times in free agency, especially teams that are trying to make a splash like the Bulls, are going out on a limb. You know, you're hoping stuff works, hoping puzzle pieces fit together. So I think the Heat probably did have the best splash with Lowry and locking up Jimmy Butler again. I think the Lakers, they made a huge splash with Westbrook, but to say your big three is Carmelo Anthony right now at his age and Russell Westbrook along with AD, and I mean, AD gets injured so much. It just reliability is a key and everything, and there's zero reliability, I think, in that lineup, other than Westbrook's probably stay healthy. But I think that they're really trying to make a big splash with Westbrook, and there's gonna be time. It's gonna mesh together. So off the bat, I don't expect that to work at all for LA, but we'll see.
Yeah, and one more thing we'll touch on before we get into the draft. Obviously, the baseball season is heading into the stretch run. So Cooper and Charles, if you guys want to give your World Series prediction, we would love to hear what you guys have to say.
Oh, definitely. Coop, let's go. Let's hear what you got to say first.
So I think that with the big trades they made at the deadline, the Dodgers are going to come out in the NL and go to the World Series there, especially with the additions of Trey Turner and Max Scherzer, because they took that trade right out from the San Diego Padres, who were reported hours before finalizing a deal. And that was a big hit against the rest of the teams in that division. And for the AL, I think that one of the AL East teams are going to come out and win it, whether it's going to be the Rays or the Red Sox. The Yankees might make a push for the wild card, but I think the Rays and the Red Sox might have the best chances to come out in the AL.
What about you, Charles?
Yeah, I think that's true too. But I think that you're going to see the ALCS rematch, Rays and Astros. I think again, Astros are coming hard. They always play hard, and even though the cheating scandal happened, yes, but they're still a good team. They still have all around. The bullpen's still performing. Rays pitching has stepped up. Underrated guys, Yarbrough, Fleming, those guys have really taken a big step. So, and plus the offense of the Rays too is great. Even and just Randy and Nelson Cruz alone performing, and Meadows, those guys can pull a team together like it's nothing. So, I think you're going to see a Rays Astros ALCS rematch. I think the Rays will go to the World Series. From the East, I do like the Giants, but you never know. I mean, the lack of postseason experience on that team. I mean, you got Longo and Posey, but after that, it's like there's not much postseason experience on that team. A lot of younger guys, between with Duggar and Wilmer Flores, former Met. I mean, those guys haven't gone to postseason really that much at all, if anything. So I think that what Coop said about that, I think the Dodgers will be in that conversation for sure. And anybody from the East. And I think that the Brewers, even with their pitching staff, I think it'll be the Dodgers and Rays again.
Wow. All right.
Again.
So we guys ready to get this draft underway?
We're ready, Jet.
Just to give everyone a little rules. So it's 10-team PPR league, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex, and then 6 bench spots, kicker and the defense, obviously. And yeah, so like we were talking about before, I have the 4th pick, Eric has the 6th pick, Cooper has the 8th pick, and Charles has the 9th pick. So it should be a very exciting draft, and we're all excited to give our varying perspectives on fantasy football as the season's fastly approaching. So let's get into it. So I'm going to press start on the draft right now, and we'll see who the first 3 picks are before I am on the clock. We have to wait. Yeah, we have to wait 30 seconds. So we'll talk a little more. But yeah, Charles, if you want to just talk about how many leagues do you play in every year for fantasy?
Every year on average, I usually do around four to
Wow.
5. So, 3 of them are usually 2 of them are for practice. 3 of them are for usually money. Up in New York, got a lot of sports bettors. So,
Yeah.
but people think they're sports bettors. So, sometimes it's taking money from a baby, kind of. But some people, they love to bet, and then they forget about the league and say screw it. But I like the amount of leagues. I'd say 4 to 5 on average.
Cooper, how about you? How many? I'm on the clock, but Cooper, if you want to just answer that really quickly, go ahead.
Yeah, I usually do 1 or 2. I'll have one with my friends back home, and then whether it's going to be college friends, that'll be my second one. But that's really it.
All right, so now I'm on the clock right now after Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, and Alvin Kamara went off the board. That's a pretty standard big 3 that we're seeing in a lot of PPR leagues around. But for me, for this number 4 pick, obviously Derrick Henry's there, Ezekiel Elliott. I'm definitely gonna go with a running back for this pick. But since this is a PPR league, and with my first round pick, especially when it's a running back, I look to draft for the potential to be the number 1 overall running back. And due to Derrick Henry's limited workload in the receiving game, my pick is going to be Ezekiel Elliott just because he provides more volume in the receiving game. And as great as Derrick Henry is, I like Ezekiel Elliott just a little bit more this year.
All right, so I'm next, in which, of course, Derrick Henry slips to 5, surprisingly. So now it's a big option for me here. All right, I can either go for the first wide receiver off the board. I can keep with the running back trend and either go for Austin Eckler or Saquon, who, I mean, he's looking real nice right there. If he could win comeback player of the year this year. So it's really for me between Devontae Adams and Saquon Barkley. I think Austin Eckler is a great late round running back or a great round 2 running back. A fabulous fantasy player. I had him last year, and when he played, I mean, he was almost averaging like 25 points a game. But for me, the player I'm going to go with is Saquon Barkley. I mean, it's just a player that I can cheer for because he's on my team. So yeah, I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley for my first pick.
Okay, so I have the next pick, and we see Travis Kelce come off the board. And Travis Kelce, for me personally, I am more of a tight end by committee kind of guy, which might be weird to some people, but I do not usually end up looking towards Travis Kelce, so I'm happy he went off the board. And right here, I see that Austin Eckler's here, and just like what Eric said, he's a good late round kind of guy, but I see Devontae Adams standing right in front of me, and with Aaron Rodgers back for at least one more season with the Green Bay Packers, I'm liking Devontae Adams right here, so I'm going to end up taking Devontae Adams.
Good pick. I see in front of me probably the most underrated running back in football. And I think that person is definitely Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb, for me, is the most underrated running back in football. Browns' offensive line continually gets better every year. Just doesn't have a big year. And with that offense, they're going to be on the field a lot, and they're supposed to be winning some games. You want to pick a running back who's on a winning team. They're going to need down the back end of the games, close the game out. I think for sure I will go with Nick Chubb.
Really quick before you get to your next pick, does the lack of involvement in the passing game concern you at all?
If it's with his stats, the way he performs, I don't think it trusts me at all. Especially he has great yards per carry. He makes most of all his attempts, so I like where I'm at with that.
So Charles, you got your next pick again.
And my next pick, I'm gonna go wide out, and you see probably one of the top 3 wide receivers in football. And Kyle Murray is going to need him a lot this year again. I'm going to go for sure with DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh, wow. Okay. Let's see what you do here, Coop.
So I definitely need a running back in this position after drafting a wide receiver in the first round. So looking at the running backs that are available, Austin Eckler is a very good choice. And the other person I'm looking at is Joe Mixon, but I think it's a little bit low for him. So I think I'm going to end up taking Austin Eckler in that electric offense with that, along with the second-year quarterback and Keenan Allen out there too with Mike Williams. I think that offense is electric, and he's a great choice because he does a great job catching balls out of the backfield, and he does a great job running the ball.
All right. So now I'm up, in which Aaron Jones was now just taken. So now, I mean, it's obvious I'm going to have to go with a wide receiver here. All the big name running backs per se have been taken now. So, but they're still, I mean, I'm obviously going to go with Stephon Diggs. He had a breakout season in fantasy wise last year. So I'm betting that, I mean, with that connection with Josh Allen, it can only get better with the second year of them being together. So I'm obviously going to be going with Stephon Diggs for my second round pick.
Okay, all right. So Patrick Mahomes went after Eric took Stephon Diggs, which I'm very happy with, considering my target here is Calvin Ridley. So whoever's Team 5, I know it's a computer generated. Thank you to them. So for me, this is a pretty easy pick. I think Calvin Ridley has the possibility of finishing as the #1 overall wide receiver this year. He's performed better without Julio Jones, and with Julio Jones no longer on this team, he's going to be Matt Ryan's go-to guy, and he's going to produce once again in fantasy football this year.
All right, Jet, you're back up again on the go around. Who's taken?
All right. So after I took Calvin Ridley, Najee Harris, Antonio Gibson, Joe Mixon, DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, and Darren Waller went off the board. Okay, so I could go back to a running back here, but I'm not in love with the options available compared to some of the options I could take for a pass catcher. As a different perspective from what Cooper was saying, I do like to take my tight end early, just because after the first three tight end, it gets a little messy, and I don't want to have to be put in that position to take someone off the waiver wire. I think George Kittle is poised for a breakout year, although there's plenty of options on that San Francisco 49ers offense. When Kittle is healthy, he is still the go-to guy. And I think if Trey Lance ends up starting week 1, it's only going to raise Kittle's ceiling. So give me Kittle and lock him in as my tight end for this year.
I would have done that. I would have.
Exactly. So I'm in a tough position here. Okay. So for the I'm looking at the wide receivers because there's still big talent on the name. It's just Justin Jefferson and Keenan Allen. The issue that I have is that they're both their bye week is week 7, and that's the same as Stephon Diggs. So I am going to have to because I care a lot about not having a lot of players, big name players on the same bye week, because I need a #1 wide receiver. So the guy that I'm actually going to be looking at is DeAndre Swift. I still don't have a week 9 bye player yet, so I'm going to go with him. Surprisingly, I care a lot about not having my players on the same bye week, or having a lot of players on the same bye week. It may bite me in the butt, but I'm going to go with DeAndre Swift with my third round pick. All right. So Coop, you're now back on the board.
So I'm looking here to get another wide receiver running back, and seeing that Keenan Allen is still on the board, that's very tempting. But I'm also looking at Chris Carson, who I feel is very, very talented in the Seattle offense. And even though he is going to be injured most likely 1, 2, 3 games a year, he's still a very talented player in that offense. But I think I'm going to have to go with Chris Carson here. There's a lot of other wide receivers I see that I'm still happy with at this position, I think Chris Carson's the best running back on the board right now.
All right, Charles. You're up.
I'm definitely going to take another wide receiver here, and I'm going to take a wide receiver that is one of the best route runners in football. As an Eagle fan, I know this pain firsthand. I'm going to take Amari Cooper from the Dallas Cowboys. He's going to see a lot of volume. He's going to see a ton of volume with Dak in there. As long as he stays healthy, it's a win-win, I think.
All right. And
I really thought you were going Keenan Allen there because Keenan
too.
Allen's up there in route running ability too. So
Yeah, it's I know it's shocker, but
all right.
For my next running back, I'm going to take a guy in a running offense who's gonna, who's gonna see a ton of volume too. Mark Ingram is out of the equation this year. He lost carries from early in the season last year. He's gonna compete with Gus Edwards a little bit, but he's definitely gonna be the 3-down running back. J.K. Dobbins. I'm gonna take him.
All right, J.K. Connor, our last guest. He'd be very pleased with your choice right there.
Oh yeah, I like J.K. a lot.
All right, Coop. Who are you looking at?
So I'm looking at another wide receiver here, and I see Allen Robinson's on the board, but I'm not too confident in Andy Dalton at quarterback. And if it does turn out to be Justin Fields, he's still a rookie quarterback. Allen Robinson will get a ton of catches, but I do like Terry McLaurin and what he provides speed-wise and his catching ability on the field to the Washington football team. And I personally do enjoy watching Terry McLaurin play. I think he's a great player, so I'm leaning towards taking Terry McLaurin here.
All right.
That's nice.
All right, so now I'm on the clock. Allen Robinson just went, so there's two guys I'm looking at. I'm looking at Robert Woods. I really like Robert Woods. I think he's a breakout candidate, a top 5 candidate easily with Matthew Stafford now at the helm of the Rams offense. And then I'm also looking at a guy that I think is getting underappreciated for what he did last year in Josh Jacobs. I love Josh Jacobs. I know Kenyon Drake is a part of that offense now, but I still think Josh Jacobs is going to get the most of the load at the running back position. But I will be going with Robert Woods as my second wide receiver choice. All right. Jet, who are you going?
Yeah, so unfortunately, the fantasy gods were not looking out for me on this pick as CeeDee Lamb was just taken off the board. That would have been my pick. I think he's primed for a crazy good year. Not just going on the hype train, just based off of training camp film. He's bound to be a wide receiver 1 eventually in this league. But for my pick, as much as I would love to go for a running back in this pick, there are no guys that I would be willing to take. Miles Sanders is available. Josh Jacobs is available. So I'll probably wait on running back for later in the draft. I'm looking at a couple of the wide receivers. We have Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. I am not interested really at all at targeting anyone in the Buccaneers receiving game just because Tom Brady likes to spread the ball. And from a fantasy perspective, it's just not worth it for me. So for me, the pick that I'm going to make usually goes in the first or second round in previous years, but due to his age and his injury concerns, he has fallen all the way to this point in the draft. He still has wide receiver 1 upside, although he is on a run-heavy team. Ryan Tannehill is going to target him a ton, and I think him and A.J. Brown is going to be a lethal combination on the football field, so Julio Jones is my pick.
All right, in which then, wow, a lot went. Hawkinson went, Allen went, Murray just went, Evans went, Godwin went, and then Cooper Kupp went. So now, Jed, it's right back to you.
All right. So interesting. We have here, I could go another wide receiver. Still not really any running backs I like in this range, but due to where I am slotted in the order, I might have to reach on one based on the fact that the guy that I'm looking at might not be there coming around in the order. But actually, no, I'm going to take a running back. My bias might be coming in a little bit here, but I think Myles Gaskin is primed for a very great year. He is. I don't think Salvon or Ahmed or Malcolm Brown is going to take any of his touches. I know durability is a concern with him, but I like Gaskin to be that 3-down back for the Dolphins, and I think the offense is going to be much, much better with Tua in year 2. So I like that pick right there.
All right, so now it's back to me, in which, I mean, for me, the wide receivers don't. DJ Moore, little skeptical. All right, just with Sam Darnold at the helm now. So I'm looking at the running backs positions. I got Miles Sanders. I had him last year, and he did not perform for me right now last year. So I may be biased of not wanting to go for him. So I'm going to go after Josh Jacobs, like I said in my last pick, that I really like him. I mean, he has an average draft position of 37 right now. So, I mean, he's actually kind of fallen to me based off of everyone else's drafts. So I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs for my fifth round pick. All right, Cooper, you're up now.
All right, so I think it has reached this point in time in the draft where I need to start looking at my tight end. And I like Mark Andrews. I had him last year, and he produced pretty well for the beginning and middle of the season, kind of fell off at the end. But in the red zone, he's targeted a lot when they don't choose to run the ball. So I'm liking Mark Andrews. And then looking at Kyle Pitts, the freak athlete he is, and he was drafted so high in the draft by the Falcons. He's very tempting, but I think I'm going to have to go back with Mark Andrews and hope that Lamar Jackson doesn't run the ball in every time.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good pick. I like that. My bias would come in here a little bit. I need a tight end. I have not picked tight end yet. And Dallas Goedert is on my screen right now. I'm looking right at him. Guy is a freak of nature as a tight end that is going to be in that offense. I think that it's going to be very hard to avoid him. I mean, he's definitely taking over for Ertz. There's no doubt about that. He's faster. He's a better run blocker. He's going to be out there almost every play as long as he stays healthy, because there has been a lot of injury concern over the last 2 years because of him. But I think I'm going to have to take Goddard in this pick. I have to.
Wow, over Pitts.
Yeah, I know, but you just don't know, you know?
True. In which Pitts just went with the first 6th round pick. So Cooper, Charles, you're back up.
Let's see here. Also, with that offense with J.K. Dobbins, it's a run-heavy offense, and there's a lot of concern about Lamar Jackson coming through. And as a passer, he gets better every year as a passer. I'm not going to lie about that at all. Also, they're going to have the same running offense. I think for sure that that offense is still going to work. They have an improved offensive line again. Ronnie Stanley's coming back. Ben Cleveland was drafted, and Ben Cleveland is one of the most promising picks of offensive line in the draft. I think plus with Sammy Watkins and Rashad Bateman just got hurt, but I think Sammy Watkins is going to help him out too with his experience. So I will draft Lamar Jackson as my quarterback.
First QB for us to go off the board. Okay. All right, Coop. Is that going to make you reach for a QB now?
I do not think I'm going to reach for a QB yet.
Okay.
I'm looking at getting either another wide receiver or running back that I could put at the flex or move around in my lineup. So DJ Moore's been here for a pretty decent amount of time, and I used to love watching the Panthers play, especially when Cam Newton was in his prime. Now he's fallen off, but DJ Moore is pretty tempting. And Tyler Lockett's also pretty tempting because of his ability to run past all of the defenders while Russell Wilson sits in the pocket or scrambles. And then one other person I'm looking at is either T. Higgins or Jamar Chase, because with Joe Burrow coming back, he's an excellent passer. And Jamar Chase especially, I think he's going to really target Jamar Chase, his old college teammate. But I think he might be there for a little bit longer, so I'm going to aim for DJ Moore here.
All right. So let's see who's gone now. So then Aaron Rodgers just went. So now I'm in a predicament here. Do I get my QB, top end QB, or should I wait until the next the wraparound here?
And might as well just wait at this point. Come on.
I mean, Dak Prescott sitting there. I mean, he's a top 5 QB right there. And the other prospects for wide receiver, the next big name is Tyler Lockett. I mean, he is a candidate to have breakout game after breakout game and stuff. And then running backs, Mike Davis, Henderson is still there, but I'm gonna go Tyler Lockett to start off my bench. All right, Jet. Let's see what you do here.
Okay, so yeah, Dak Prescott is someone I'm targeting a lot in a lot of my leagues. Although he is having some shoulder issues right now in training camp, I don't think that is going to affect him for the rest of the season. But due to the fact that I drafted a tight end early, I tend to like to wait a little bit more on drafting my QB. So I'm going to look towards the running back position again. A few names I like here: Darrell Henderson and Mike Davis, Travis Etienne. Obviously, he's a rookie, but for me, the pick that I'm going to make is going to be Mike Davis. I think that since he has no real competition behind him, he's going to get a bulk of the carries in an offense that's going to be great for fantasy. And why not add some more running back depth? I am lacking a little with Myles Gaskin as my RB2, so it could potentially end up Mike Davis as my RB2. So lock in Mike Davis for my flex/RB2 slot. But before we get on to the rest of the draft, I'm just going to pause it and get everyone up to speed on all of our rosters to this point. So I'll start off with my roster. I have Ezekiel Elliott, Myles Gaskin, Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, George Kittle, and Mike Davis. Eric, you want to give everyone your team so far?
Yes, I have Saquon Barkley, DeAndre Swift, Stephon Diggs, Robert Woods, Tyler Lockett, and Josh Jacobs on the bench. Cooper, you want to be next?
Yep. So I have Austin Eckler and Chris Carson as my 2 running backs. I have Devontae Adams and Terry McLaurin as my 2 wide receivers. My tight end is Mark Andrews, and my flex is DJ Moore.
All
And
right.
Charles, yours?
Right now, my quarterback is Lamar Jackson. My running back is Nick Chubb. My second running back is J.K. Dobbins. 2 wide receivers are DeAndre Hopkins and Amari Cooper, and my tight end is Dallas Goedert.
All right. Yeah, before we resume it, I just want to ask, I'll start with Cooper. As we move into these later rounds, what are you looking for when you're looking to fill out the rest of your team?
So I'm looking for I noticed there's still a ton of wide receivers I'm interested in. So I'm looking at them because they're much lower on the board than I expected. So there's some names I'm looking for there, and I'm going to wait a little bit, I think, on my quarterback. I have a name that seems a little bit more down on the board, so hopefully in a round or 2 he'll still be there. But those are my plans for the future picks.
What about you, Charles? What's your strategy for the rest of this draft?
I'm looking for extreme upside and extreme usage. There's one wide receiver I have my eye on who I really like a lot. And I liked him for a few years here. He terrorized my Eagles as one game. And we'll get to that in a little bit when I explain the pick. But if I get that pick, however, but you're looking for just usage and upside, and you like the lack of competition, competing for spots. So yeah, I would say that's the biggest part of it.
All right. So we're going to get back into this draft. I am back on the clock for the 4th pick in round 7. We're going to wait here 30 seconds before the mock draft actually resumes, but I'll just give everyone a little insight of where I'm looking. So obviously I just picked a running back in Mike Davis, and I think I'm going to go right back to that running back spot because obviously the running back position is very fragile, and I want to have as many good running backs as possible. So in case of an injury, I have a good backup plan. So for me, the 2 guys that I'm deciding between are Darrell Henderson and Travis Etienne. Darrell Henderson is now slated to be the starter with Cam Akers out for the year due to an Achilles injury. And Travis Etienne was obviously drafted by the Jaguars in the 1st round. And that is very key for me because a team that drafts a running back, especially in the 1st round, is going to use him as soon as possible just because running backs have such a short lifespan in the NFL. I know they have James Robinson, but this is also a PPR league, and they're going to try and move around Travis Etienne around the field. Urban Meyer has a history of moving his running backs all across the field. So I'm picking a rookie, and that rookie is going to be Travis Etienne, running back for the Jaguars.
All right. So now it's come down to me, and it's not in favor of the wraparound. And Cooper may be looking at a QB here. So there's really only 2 top tier type of guys left from in what I considered. And I'm going to go with a breakout candidate. I'm going to go with Justin Herbert at my QB position. And I'm hoping that he hits big because he was heating up at the end of the year. And I hope that he continues doing it into this season.
So I was looking at 2 quarterbacks. One of them, obviously, is I'm going to pick a quarterback here with Russell Wilson. But the other one I was eyeing up a little bit later was Joe Burrow. And as I was saying, I think he's going to have an excellent year, even though the O-line might not be the best after they drafted Jamar Chase. I think that he's still an excellent option with all the weapons he has around him and how excellent he was in his rookie year before he tore his ACL. But with Russell Wilson sitting right here, he's playing in his prime still. He's had one of the best primes in the NFL. And with him still sitting on the board here, I can't not draft him.
All right, Charles, let's see who you're going now.
I'm going to go with someone who has undeniable speed, someone who is going to need to be used a lot in San Francisco. I'm looking at a running back. This person for me will be Raheem Mostert, my first flex option at running back.
All right. And who's going to be the pick for you?
Then I will take the wide receiver if I could see he's still here. Let me look. There it is. Yeah, a wide receiver I will pick is from Jets Miami Dolphins. Who's going to take some looks away from Jalen Waddle as a rookie. Very underrated, very big. He's good size and he's fast for his size. I will 100% in this spot. My first bench wide receiver, I will take Devontae Parker.
Good pick. So, Coop, back on the clock here for the 8th round pick. Who are you going?
So I'm in a predicament because I'm looking towards a wide receiver because I'm not a fan of a ton of running backs right now. But I have some wide receivers I've already drafted I'm confident in. So I'm looking at Courtland Sutton coming back after his injury. Hopefully he can get back to his Pro Bowl potential, being a huge wide receiver with speed, great hands. He seems like one of the picks for me. And at running back, Kareem Hunt is an excellent option to go alongside Nick Chubb because sometimes one of those 2 Cleveland running backs ends up injured and then the other one has to come in and play. So Kareem Hunt seems like an excellent option. But with my need at running back, I think I'm going to end up taking Kareem Hunt here.
All right. In which now it is me, and then wow, the computer reached here. James Robinson just went right afterwards. So I'm stuck in between here, between a wide receiver and a running back. I could go Chase Edmonds here. I mean, he did have a good season, but now James Conner is now in Arizona's, and I think they're going to split the duties. Or I can go Robbie Anderson. I had Robbie Anderson last year off of waiver wire claims. He really showed out for me, and I think he would be a great player to have on your bench, especially if he has another breakout year. So I'm going to go Robbie Anderson.
Oh, my God, Eric.
Yes, stole a player from Jet.
Oh, that's all good. That's all good. Okay. So for me, now that 9 of the 10 teams have taken a quarterback, I'm in no rush at all, unless a computer just decides to screw me over and takes a second quarterback. But I am looking at another wide receiver, and it's really between Tyler Boyd, Courtland Sutton, and Jerry Jeudy for me. Tyler Boyd is very underappreciated, and he is going to be part of an offense that should be able to support 3 wide receivers. The Bengals are going to be down a lot, and they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. So there's room for Chase, Boyd, and Higgins to be very fantasy relevant. Boyd, while he does lack a little bit of upside, he definitely has a safe floor, and I'll take this all day, adding him as a nice bench spot.
All right, in which now it has gone Juju Smith-Schuster, Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Cooks, DJ Clark, Melvin Gordon, and now it's back to you, Jet.
Yeah, so right as of now, still no computer has screwed me over yet, but it could end up happening. But I'm still looking at another wide receiver. after taking 3 running backs in a row in rounds 5 through 7. There's a lot of good options that I like: Antonio Brown, Laviska Shenault, Mike Williams. But for me, the pick that I feel like has the most upside for a career, it's Mike Williams. The reason being that he's had a season where he's had double-digit touchdowns. He's had a season where he's had 1,000 yards, but he hasn't been able to put it all together. He now has the quarterback to be able to do that. And he, among some of the other wide receivers going in this range, he has the most upside. So I'm taking Mike Williams.
Good pick. Good pick. In which now I am on the clock, and I'm going to go back to the running back position. And it's up in the air for me right now because I can go Chase Edmonds. I like him. I can go Michael Carter. Jed, I remember you were high on him to have a good rookie season, and he's sitting there. And I can go Williams, who has been rising surprisingly also. But I'm going to go with the sure thing with the Arizona running back, Edmonds, as another nice, I believe, bench piece for my team. So, Coop, who are you looking at now?
So I'm very happy with you making that pick because I was eyeing up Michael Carter with him being on the Jets, and they were in desperate need of a running back last year. I'm really hopeful for Michael Carter to have a good year this year. So I'm going to take Michael Carter here.
I like it.
It's a good pick. Good pick.
It's a good pick. With this pick, I need a safety net. I have 1 tight end. I have never shied away from taking 2 tight ends, especially when snatching on the bench early, like middle rounds. I like this tight end, division rival of the Eagles from Washington. Logan Thomas, he's big, physical, and Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to like throwing him a lot. I will take Logan Thomas as my bench tight end.
That's a good bench guy to have. I was eyeing him also with this most recent pick of mine. But who are you going with now?
Then I will take another very underrated, under the radar, I will say. Under the radar running back. Nobody has looked his way. He had a very, very good second half and middle season in general. I will take the running back from New England, Damian Harris.
Oh, my God.
He had a very, very good season, and nobody has ever talked about him at all. So I think that will pay off eventually for me.
This is what I hate about fantasy drafts, just picks being swiped from me left and right every year.
All right, Coop, who are you going with?
So I just want to say I'm kind of shocked about the New England running back pick because Bill Belichick really likes to do run by committee. So I was kind of shocked about that.
But do you still James White or no?
James White and Sony Michel are there, but I think Sony Michel might end up getting cut. But Bill Belichick has come out and said that Damian Harris is most likely to be their lead back. And I sort of believe it. I mean, there's really no other huge threat. So I like Damian Harris a lot.
So with my pick, I'm looking at my team and I realized that 2 of my 3 wide receivers have week 13 bye, which is not ideal. So I'm liking Laviska Shenault Jr. here, especially with Trevor Lawrence coming into the league, one of the most highest regarded quarterbacks to be drafted, and them saying that experts saying that he has the highest potential and is the most NFL ready. So I'm very happy about that.
Jet is obviously disappointed.
He
was eyeing that
it's all
guy.
Right. I'll find someone that I like.
So for me, I need a tight end now, and there's one more guy that is probably a tier 3 tight end, Noah Fant. I'm obviously gonna now have to do tight end by committee. So this is just going to be probably my starter, and so I'm going to go with Noah Fant. All right, Jet. Who you eyeing now? Since your plans have gotten thrown in the works.
Obviously, I'm the only team in this mock draft that does not have a quarterback, and I'm still not going to take a quarterback because I'm confident that nobody's going to take a second quarterback just yet. So I am looking at another wide receiver, and this guy has been very hyped up in training camp, and I'm buying into it. He is one of the up and coming best route runners in this league. I think he's going to put it on full display. The pick for me is going to be Darnell Mooney of the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I like him. I like him a lot. All right. So since Jets' most recent pick, the Pittsburgh defense has gone. Michael Gallup has gone. Landry has gone. Waddle has gone. Fournette has gone. And Hardman has gone. So who are
Okay,
you looking at?
so I mean, there's a chance before my next pick that someone might take a second quarterback. It could be one of you guys, so I can't obviously rule out that possibility. But in a lot of my drafts this year, I am waiting on a quarterback just so I can get, build up my running back and wide receiver depth. I'm looking at some of the names at wide receiver. There's still a couple of guys that I would definitely take in the spot, although I probably could end up waiting on them. But for me, the pick that I am going to make is going to be Ryan Tannehill, a quarterback that has proven
Ooh.
year in, year
Wow.
out since he left Miami Dolphins after not knowing what to do with them. He sort of resurrected his career and found a new home, and I'm very happy for him. And he's going to be a fantasy beast once again. So I'm happy with that selection.
All right. So I'm now you're getting to where it's a make or break here. All right. I have two options. I can jump early, really early on defense and really reach. I don't think I'm going to do that. Wide receivers right now, I don't really see a player that I would like to reach for that much, but there is a running back here still, a little washed up, but I feel like he has a good chance. I am going to be drafting David Johnson. I mean, he's fallen this far. I just can't let him fall anymore. So I have to draft him. I mean, he could just be a miss this entire year, but I'm willing to take that chance for the position I'm at the moment. All right, Coop, who are you going?
So I'm looking at one more wide receiver, and the two options. I'm looking at two Jets here, and Corey Davis. They just signed him for big money for the Jets to be one of their star receivers. But then I'm looking at Elijah Moore down here, who's had an excellent training camp. And he's very tempting. And I feel like I kind of want to take the more of a risk on Elijah Moore than Corey Davis, who's proven himself. So I'm going to take Elijah Moore.
Good pick. Good pick.
Hmm.
All right, Charles, who you going with?
I think I'll be the first of us to take a defense for sure. Never want to have a bad defense. I was looking at Washington caught my eye because of the division they're in. There's a lot of question marks with the offense. I mean, Cowboys have a great offense. Don't get me wrong in that division. And the Giants are destined to have a good offense. Daniel Jones, a lot of question marks there. If he performs, they should have a high-powered offense as well. So that's – and Washington, I mean, that could have been short-lived success. You don't know. There's a big question mark there too. Maybe that was short-lived success just because of the pass rush, closing issues there. So I think I'm going to have to go with the Rams defense. I'll have to play the safer bet, I feel like.
I love the Rams defense. I love the Rams defense. But all right, who are you going with in the 12th round?
This is let's see what I need here. Just bench pieces. All right. I think it's going to be wide receiver or a running back. We're getting pretty thin on our safe bets here, so there's certain picks here that could work. Latavius Murray as a third down running back, that goal line running back. You need that maybe as a flex 1 week for hopefully reaching for a touchdown. Probably not going to get it, but and then you know what? I'm going to go Tevin Coleman in the Jets. Michael Carter underperforms as a rookie. That's your veteran right there.
All right. All right, Coop. Who are you looking at?
So I'm going to take a defense here, and I'm going to go with the Washington defense. And I'm a big fan of the Washington defense, what they did last year. And I think that I am a Giants, not a Giants hater, but I'm a Daniel Jones hater. I really do not think he's a good starting quarterback in this league. And I truthfully believe that after this year, he's not going to be a starting quarterback. They're going to see after signing Kenny Golladay. So I'm kind of confident with that division. Dak Prescott might put up a fight against the Washington defense, but I'm not really sure about the Eagles either. So I'm going to take the Washington defense here.
Eric, how do you feel about him hating on your Giants like that?
Hey, I'm saying Daniel Jones has until Thanksgiving to prove himself. He hasn't proved himself yet, so he has till Thanksgiving to prove himself. And then if he doesn't, I can't wait for the next QB to come in and hopefully turn the franchise around.
That's
But
very deep in the year. Though. The Thanksgiving is very deep in the year.
yeah, true. But
Uh,
for my pick though, I could go defense, but I still think the rest of them would be much of a reach. I could go for my tight end. There's Robert Toyona. How do you pronounce that? Anya. He he's there, but he could have just been just a one-hit wonder last year. I mean, it was insane the amount of TDs he was getting. Or I could go Corey Davis or Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown. But you know what? I'm gonna go Robert for the tight end for Green Bay as my backup tight end. All right, Jet. Who you going for?
All right. So obviously I was hoping that Elijah Moore was gonna come back around to me, but obviously he did not. So I'm either going to take Corey Davis here, who I like a lot. If Elijah Moore doesn't show out in his rookie year, Corey Davis will definitely be a solid fallback option. But I want to draft another running back here just so I can bolster up my depth. Obviously, the Buccaneers have Fournette. Now they have Giovanni Bernard, but I think Ronald Jones is still going to be the team's leading rusher, although he doesn't catch many passes out of the backfield. Bucks are still going to run the ball a lot this year, so give me Ronald Jones with this pick.
All right, Ronald Jones. So since that pick, has been Sermon, Gronk, Gesicki, Connor, Drake, and Williams. All right, Jet, who you going with now?
So honestly, this lined up great for me because Corey Davis was my other option. So I'll be happy to take him here. He has a ton of upside, and he's on a team that's gonna throw the ball a lot. We'll see what Zach Wilson does, but if Zach Wilson has a solid rookie season, I think Corey Davis is going to be his number one option. So
all right, so I'm going to finish off my bench with a wide receiver, and Hollywood Brown is sitting there. The rest I don't think really compare. I mean, Jones for Jacksonville is sitting there, but I don't know. Actually, I'm going to go with Jones. For my final bench piece. So, all right, Coop. Who are you looking at now?
So I think I'm going to go for one more running back here. And I'm just trying to look at my buys here because I have a bunch that overlap. So I really can't take anyone week 6. But I think that crosses off Latavius Murray, who I was looking towards. So I think I might have to lean towards Tony Pollard, who is still involved in the offense in Dallas. But I think he's the best option here for me to take at this pick.
All right.
Doesn't sound bad. I mean, you gotta hope Zeke you never hope someone gets hurt, but I mean, Zeke doesn't get hurt that often, so you're gonna need a big break for him. But
I'll probably want to trade you for that handcuff later on the season if something happens. So,
but I think I'm gonna use one more. I'm gonna take one more wide receiver for my bench. And I'm gonna take somebody who they're gonna need to use a lot of. Being probably the number 2 wide receiver in that team. He's fast. They're going to need to do a lot of Tyreek Hill-esque plays with him. As long as he can keep himself going and stay healthy, which I think he will this year. I'm going to go with Jalen Reagor for the Eagles. I'm going to need him to come through for me on the bench.
Right.
But
So who's going to be your second pick here?
I think I will be the first person to also take a kicker. Those points may pay a lot of dividends for you. I've lost quite a bit of games just because my kicker has choked for me. I've lost games because kickers have put up 17 points. I lost that week. The Gostkowski missed 4 field goals by like 3 points.
Oh,
And I've won that week when Gano hit the game winner against the Giants back in, I think it was 18. That was. So I'm gonna have to take Justin Tucker. All reliable. I'll have to definitely take him as my kicker.
All right, Coop. Who are you
So
looking at?
I'm following the same train as Charles here, seeing the top, or other than Justin Tucker, the top 3 kickers now are left here. And for me, it's really between Young Ho Koo and Harrison Butker, because the Kansas City Chiefs get down and score almost every time they get on the field, it seems. And then the Atlanta Falcons, Young Ho Koo gets all the points from the Atlanta Falcons not converting in the red zone. So it's a tough decision between these two, but based off of my previous history, I'm going with Harrison Butker here. He's just consistent, doesn't really miss. That's what I need.
All right, in which then I have a decision to make. Do I go for defense, a top 5 defense, or do I go for a top 3 kicker here? Because, I mean, there's Jet and then a lot of picks next after me. But I'm going to go with the team, the player that gets me points more so than not. So I'm going to go with Young Ho Koo for my kicker.
Yeah, Eric, you don't have to worry about me, because if I have the option to not draft a defensive kicker, I'm not going to, just because I don't believe in it, just because I feel like you can find decent options every week based on matchups. And I get the point where kickers, they can give you a decent amount of points and games can be decided by then. But for me, if this were to be a real league with the preseason just getting under the way, I want to have guys that could potentially take a starting spot if someone were to get injured. And so I'm looking at a couple of guys that could have that opportunity. Obviously, Rashad Bateman would have been a great spot here, but I am a little bit concerned about his injury. They're saying he may be able to return for week 1, but that's a little up in the air. So I'm going to go down to one of my guys that I'm targeting in the very end of my draft. The Lions really don't have any dependable options outside of TJ Hawkinson, so they're looking for someone to step up in that role. It could end up being Tyrell Williams or Brashad Perryman, but the guy that I think has a very good chance of overstepping those guys is Amon-Ra St. Brown, a rookie. And if Jared Goff and him can develop some sort of a rapport, that's going to be a steal at this point in the draft.
All right, in which then a bunch of kickers and defense just went. So, Jay, who's going to be our final pick?
Yeah, so once again, still not taking a kicker or a defense. So I'm going to go to another one of my hidden gems, I like to call them. They could pay off, but obviously they have a very large chance of not paying off. But like, I did draft Mike Davis early on in the draft, and there are some questions about if he can handle a major workload. Obviously, he was the RB1 in Carolina when Christian McCaffrey went down. And as the season went on, the workload started to take a toll on him. So with that being said, we saw James Robinson as an undrafted player be very great for fantasy production. Pick him up off the waiver wire week 1 and hold him on your team till the championship. So for me, a potential guy to be that James Robinson this year is Javion Hawkins of the Atlanta Falcons, an undrafted free agent that potentially if Mike Davis were to get injured, Javion Hawkins will be able to step into that role and potentially have a James Robinson type season.
All right. So to finish mine off, I am going to draft a defense. I like to have a complete team. I mean, there's still a potential top 5 defense available, but a player that surprisingly has fallen this far, and I'm surprised the computer hasn't even picked it up, is JD McKissick.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's surprising that he's fallen this far. If I knew that, I definitely would have picked him up. But for defense, I'm going to go with the San Francisco defense. I think that they're going to get healthy once again, and they're going to terrorize their division. So I'm going to go with the San Francisco defense.
Were you throwing some shade at me there, saying that you want to have a complete team?
Yeah, maybe something like that. I mean,
you're
missing a kicker and a defense. So
I'll pick someone up. It's not a problem. I have a few weeks to do that. So,
all right, Coop, who are you going to be your last pick?
So for my last pick, for as much as I was trash talking the Giants, I'm a big fan of Darius Slayton. I think that he's an excellent player for the Giants. Even though there is going to be a ton of wide receiver competition, he's one of the 2 guys I'm targeting here. And the other one is AJ Green, because I've heard many reports come out that AJ Green is looking like the number 2 in Arizona based off of what he's done in training camp. So it's a tough pick for me, but I'm going to have to go with AJ Green, I think.
All right.
Wherever he is. Unless I can't find him again. Oh, there he is.
All right, Charles.
I
Finish
gotta
up the draft.
have a big thank you to Eric for wanting to have a complete team, because my next pick was going to be that running back from Washington. Antonio Gibson's not a shoo-in to be the guy yet. He's got to still perform this year. He had a decent season last season. McKissick put out some decent numbers when he ran last year. So, I will definitely take J.D. McKissick as my last bench pick.
So now we're going to see Fantasy Pros grade all of our drafts, and we will see. Okay, so you guys should be seeing your projected grades on the screen. If you want to just one at a time, just say what the grade that Fantasy Pros gave you.
I got a B+. I believe I got 88 out of 100 points.
Charles?
I got a D, 63 out of 100 points, but team looks good to me. I don't know.
Cooper?
I got an 83 out of 100.
Okay, so I got an 87 out of 100. So it looks like Eric takes the slight victory on this one. We're going to put all these rosters out for the fans to decide who they think has the best roster. Total anonymous. I'm going to put out the rosters, and they're going to vote for the best one. But to recap, I'll start off with my roster. At quarterback, I have Ryan Tannehill. My running backs are Ezekiel Elliott and Myles Gaskin. My two wide receivers are Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones. My tight end is George Kittle. My flex is Travis Etienne. I have a nice blank space with my defense and kicker. For my bench, I got Mike Davis, Tyler Boyd, Ronald Jones, Corey Davis, Mike Williams, Darnell Mooney, and my two favorite late round picks, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Javion Hawkins. Eric, you're up.
All right. QB, I got Justin Herbert, breakout candidate. Next, Kyler Murray candidate right there. I got Saquon Barkley, comeback player of the year. I got DeAndre Swift, probably the leader of the Detroit offense. Stephon Diggs, Robert Woods, great 1-2 combo right there. I got Noah Fant, a little struggling in the tight end department, but hey, he could have a good season, looking maybe for top 15 production right there. I got Tyler Lockett in my flex position. I got the San Francisco defense. Young Ho Koo as my kicker. And for my bench, I got Josh Jacobs, Robbie Anderson, Chase Edmonds, David Johnson, Robert Tonyan, right? Tunyon. Whatever. And then Marvin Jones Jr. to round out my bench. Cooper, you want to go next?
Yep. So my quarterback, Russell Wilson, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, as we know. My two running backs, I have Austin Eckler, who I'm not a huge fan of, but he was up there in my pick. So kind of felt the need to take him. And Chris Carson. Devontae Adams, my first pick, who last year against me scored 40 points twice. So I was very upset about that. Terry McLaurin as my second wide receiver. Mark Andrews, red zone threat for the Baltimore Ravens, and DJ Moore at my flex. My defense, the dangerous Washington football team, who almost stopped the Buccaneers from getting past the first round last year. Harrison Butker, great kicker. And then on my bench, I got running back Kareem Hunt and Michael Carter. And my other running backs, Tony Pollard. And my last three wide receivers are Laviska Shenault, Elijah Moore, and AJ Green.
Nice. My team, at quarterback, we have Lamar, maybe a running back, maybe not. Jackson from Baltimore. We have Nick Chubb as my first running back. My second running back, Ray Rice 2.0, J.K. Dobbins. It looks like him, doesn't do stuff like him. My first wide receiver is the Nuke, DeAndre Hopkins. My second wide receiver is Amari Cooper. Tight end, Dallas Goedert from Philly. My flex is Raheem Mostert from San Francisco, the running back. Number one ranked defense, the Rams, as my defense. However, they probably suck this year because I picked them. And the old reliable Justin Tucker is my kicker. Damian Harris starts my bench off, running back from New England. Logan Thomas, the tight end. big breakout candidate there. Wide receiver, you have Devontae Parker from the Miami Dolphins. J.D. McKissick, backup running back from the Washington football team. Jalen Reagor, wide receiver in Philly, and Tevin Coleman, the veteran former Atlanta Falcon on the New York Jets.
Very nice. Yeah. So all of our teams came out pretty good. Obviously, they have some computer generated guy with the top team. Who knows? He probably wasn't even paying attention. But before we wrap up here, Charles, I'll start with you. Do you have a bold prediction for this upcoming fantasy season?
Bold prediction. I think that a lot this year, a lot of veterans who people loved from years prior are going to start fading away, and people are going to start understanding. Because I mean, as you get older, you realize the players you loved when you were younger, players you loved growing up, then they're getting older and they're getting slower. They're not performing like they used to, and injuries are a big factor. So you got to look at younger guys. Like I think that guys like J.K. Dobbins, guys like guys like J.K. Dobbins, I want to use him as an example. These are these big guys. Logan Thomas on my team, for example. These guys are the next generation. Logan Thomas could be the next Darren Waller. J.K. Dobbins could be the next big running back in the league. These younger guys are going to take that next big step this year. This is the year, especially with now everything's back to normal. The fans are back. Atmosphere's back. This is going to be the year that you see the real test of if they have taken that next the progression to be that superstar. So 2021 is the year to see if that happens.
What about you, Cooper?
I think that the big focus for this year is definitely going to be looking at all the players coming back from injury. Like Cortland Sutton's a big name. Saquon Barkley's a big name. There's a bunch of other players that are going to come back, and they're going to have a vengeance. They're going to come out on the field and tear it up. Like I think Saquon Barkley's going to have a great year coming back from his Achilles tear or ACL tear. I think that the same thing for Joe Burrow too. I think Joe Burrow had an excellent rookie season, and many people didn't really look at it that way unless you looked at the games that he did play. It was kind of ruined by injury. The same thing with Cortland Sutton. He only played one game, and my opinion, I think he's 6'5". All the defensive backs he's going against are like 5'11". So he has a huge wingspan and has a great arm, great hands to catch the ball. So I think that those three players in particular are going to have excellent seasons.
But all right, guys, that was episode 15 of It's Game Time. Charles, Cooper, thank you so much for coming on. We hope to have you again sometime in the future.
Yes, thanks for having us.
It was a great time. Thank you. It's great to talk with you guys about football, and great to be on this episode. Hopefully much success to you guys going forward. And we definitely, Cooper and I can say Cooper too, we both hope to be on again for sure. So
yeah,
thank you.
Of course.
All right. Peace out, guys.
I was waiting for Cooper to leave. Oh, we still recording or no?
All right, there we go.
There you go.